Welcome to the Emily the Mystic Show. You're about to walk through a portal that leads to all things mystical, magical, spiritual, and supernatural. I'm your host, Emily. I'm a spiritual mentor, an Akashic Records practitioner and teacher, an intuition development coach, and a galactic channeler. If you're an old soul on a self-discovery and healing journey, you are in the right place. We'll be diving in deep to some of my favorite mystical topics, including manifestation, past lives, the spirit world, energy, and so much more. Get ready to embrace your inner mystic and live your most authentic life possible. The portal is now open. Hello, everyone. The portal has opened today to a fun and joyful conversation with my dear friend, Jennifer Spor. I am so excited and happy to have you on the show because I just love our connection. I love our relationship, and I'm so excited for the audience to get to know you.
Me too. All of the things. I'm so excited to be here with you today and to have this conversation.
Amazing. Well, let me share a little bit with the audience about you so that they can get to know you better. So Jennifer Spor is the CEO and founder of her namesake company and host of Path of the Awakened Heart podcast. She is a spiritual advisor, channel, and Akashic Records trauma-informed master consultant and teacher for high-achieving conscious women leaders who are here to live unapologetically expressed in their truth and fulfill their highest destiny in this life, soul-led. Wow. Well, we're going to get into all the things today. But before we do that, Jennifer, I would love for you to share with the audience what your astrology, sun, moon, and rising is, as well as your human design type.
Oh my gosh. So I'm a Taurus sun and Aries moon. And I'm in a very interesting time indeed in my journey. I don't know when this conversation's airing, but I'm turning 50 this week, if you can believe that. So yeah,
Yay!
It's a very, very exciting time astrologically and in all the ways. And human design, I am an emotional authority projector with a 6-2 profile.
Fantastic. Well, happy early birthday. I'm sure the audience will be celebrating right along with us today. And so perfectly, divinely timed as we are about to kickstart Taurus season. So when this episode is aired, we will be in the midst of Taurus season, which you guys will know I'm very excited about as a Taurus rising. And Jennifer, that's also why we get along so well. So yay. And I would also love to know what's something in your life that's really bringing you a lot of joy right now.
That's a fantastic question. And I paused to think, to reflect on that as there's a lot to choose from, actually. What's coming forward is that I've recently started traveling a lot more again. And that is bringing me a lot of joy. I am someone who has always enjoyed trying new things and having new experiences. And so there's just this entire amazing planet to see. And I just love all of it. So travel is bringing me a lot of joy.
That's amazing. And I know that you are a grid worker. So I would actually love for us to start off this conversation by talking a little bit about grid working, what that is to you, what that means to you, and how that's a part of your purpose here.
Yeah, that's a great question too. Grid working, I believe, and in my experience, it can mean something a little bit different for each one of us, based upon, what our uniques are and also what we're being called to in terms of working with the earth. I actually work both with the earth and in collaboration with higher frequency energies, a lot of galactic energies. And for me specifically, I am called to do a lot of work in relation to transitioning transitioning souls, energies that for whatever reason are feeling held here or stuck here. And that can happen for a lot of reasons. So I would say more specifically around that, especially in the last year or two, I've been called to aid a lot of souls in transitioning based on trauma in a land, so colonization has been something that's frequently come up. Um, and I also do a lot of work in clearing the way for portals to open up and aiding and holding the space and channeling energy so that portals can open up. So one of my recent trips was to Mexico and specifically in Cancun. And I was there leading up to the solar eclipse. And I was actually flying home in the air when the solar eclipse was happening. But in the couple of days leading up to that, I was staying right on the ocean and doing a lot of work around opening portals that were over the ocean, like essentially like energetic channels. And these channels, the ones that I've been working with currently, are in large focused on aiding. You and I were just talking about this before we hit record, but aiding in providing clear pathways for higher frequency beings and energies to come more onto the planet right now to aid us in these huge transitions that we're experiencing. So that's a lot of the work that I'm called to do in terms of grid work.
That's amazing. Well, I want to get more deeply into that. But before we get there, I actually want to take us in a little bit into who you are as a spiritual leader and maybe if you could share some of the main points in your life that helped you get to where you are now, whatever you feel called to share.
Yeah, there's so much to share, like there are, I believe that the true essence of our being is change. It is expansion. We're here to learn and also to be of service, to learn for ourselves and to also share that wisdom in service to others as well. And we go through several iterations on our path. I'll share the initial catalyzer, let's say, what I remember to be my first big initial awakening, which was about, let's see, we're in 2024. So this was like probably 15 years ago. Feels like I had a whole other life. I had a really successful career in the retail industry. And toward the end of my career, I was one of the only women, one of the youngest corporate operations directors for a company that was a $12 billion company at the time. And, our societal structures, right, promote checking a lot of boxes off the list, a lot of external boxes. So, you're successful if you make this amount of money or have a house or have the things or whatever it is. And so I had reached a place in my early 30s, where I had checked all those boxes off the list. And what happened was I kind of hit this ceiling where I was starting to feel like, there wasn't anything else to learn. There were no other promotions. And so that's when I like to say the fog started to lift. I started wondering, what was next, which was a big deal at the time because I thought I was probably going to retire, doing that work. It's important to mention here that before I decided to dedicate my entire life to being of service, right, and my spiritual path, I've always been somebody of integrity. I've always been somebody who has had to believe in whatever it was I chose to pursue. So I loved that career for a long time. And it was because there were a lot of things sprinkled into that experience that I would say I was dating, my purpose and mission. So, I got to help people. And so I got to travel a lot too. Right. So there were a lot of things, right, that I enjoyed about it. But it was really that time that I was starting to wonder what was next. I wasn't fulfilled anymore. I didn't take action right away, though, because of fear of change, of, where could I go and have the same salary and continue to maintain the same lifestyle. And so I didn't act. The catalyzer for me actually taking action to make the change was about a year and a half or 2 years later. My mother at the time was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And I was living on the opposite side of the country in the US. And I was flying back and forth a lot, trying to be as present as possible for her and my family. And understanding that amidst all of this, I had a high level leadership position where I was on all of the time, on call, on all of the time. So there was this moment that I remember as clearly as if it were 5 minutes ago, where it was a couple days before my mom passed. I was sitting at her bedside and my phone started blowing up with an issue that was happening with my work. And it was in that moment that I just felt like I was in this vortex, like time stood still. I literally remember looking at my phone to see what was going on. And then I looked over at my mom, and then that was it. I was done in that moment. I said, like, here I am for the millionth time being faced with another decision, right? To where I get to choose where I'm being present at in my life. Mm-hmm. And am I going to choose to focus my energy in that moment on yet another fire that needs to be put out, which, by the way, was something that could have been prevented in the first place, living in that very kind of chaotic, reactionary kind of energy? Or am I going to choose to stay present with my mom, knowing that that was probably going to be the last time I saw her? And I think it was, actually. So in that moment, I decided that my courage was going to exceed my fear. I had no freaking clue what was going to happen beyond that. I had no idea. I just knew that it was time to move on. And so my mom died a couple days later. I to make a long story short, I ended up voluntarily stepping down from my position, my career, because at the time, remote work culture wasn't a thing. So I had to choose, because I wanted to move back out to Idaho to be closer to my remaining family at the time. So I stepped down from my career, and I like to say, a lot like the lyrics of a country song, I literally rented out my house in New Jersey, packed up my car, and headed out west. I drove across the country in 4 days by myself. Wow. In my car. And I mean, it was like one of the most freaking liberating things of my life. Like, I mean, ever, it felt so freeing. And it's important for everyone to understand that I didn't know I was going to become an entrepreneur and start a business and do the work that I was doing today when that happened, right? I just knew in my bones that I had to make a change. I didn't know what was ahead, but I just leapt and I did it. And it was actually, I don't know, several months or maybe even up to a year later after I moved, I was doing some consulting work, to pay the bills. And I realized, because I was going through this tremendous spiritual awakening, and I had invested in lots of therapists, healers, psychics, all the things. And what I was hard pressed to find at the time was someone who could actually support me in the healing work, but someone who could relate to what I was going through in terms of this tremendous awareness, and also support me in integrating those awarenesses into my physical reality. And that was the moment I realized that it's me. It's my journey. Like, I need to do this work, helping other people. And that was when I knew that I needed to do this work. I needed to dedicate myself to this work full time. And that has been a journey in of itself. Over the last several years, I became an entrepreneur in the summer of 2016, and I've been doing that ever since.
Oh my gosh. And I love how much common ground we share with our career backgrounds. The audience will know that I also previously worked in the corporate retail world and can relate so much to working in a path that at the time absolutely makes sense on paper, absolutely feels aligned in a way because, yes, we're serving people in the way that our consciousness could at the time. Yes, we are helping customers in a way that our consciousness could at the time. And yet we knew we got to a point, almost a breaking point of like, there's a ceiling here. There's only so much that this path can provide me. And then being able to have the courage and the bravery to take the leap, and especially for you not knowing where that would lead to next. I mean, what an amazing journey.
Yeah, I love sharing it because, that is the magic of what happens when we step into our power as divine creator beings.
Yes.
It's not about intellectually knowing or seeing all of the steps. It's more about feeling that in your body and flowing, allowing yourself to flow with those energies. There are so many stories within that story that unfolded after I moved. I mean, I had never been married, and I reconnected with my husband after 25 years. We dated in high school, and he was out here. And after I moved, right after I made that leap, we, in a very synchronistic way, reconnected after over 25 years and then ended up getting married. So it's just a great example, right, of all the synchronicities that are interconnected and that unfold. But that all starts with you saying yes, being willing to say yes.
Absolutely. I would love to talk a little bit about what it means to you to be a divine creator being and how you weave that so profoundly into the work that you do now.
Yeah. Wow. What it means to be a divine creator being. Yeah. So we, in of our innate nature, are sovereign. We are free.
Mm-hmm.
And we're wired to create, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so being the essence of embodiment as a divine creator being is really living in your day to day, in your moment to moment from that space of creation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of knowing that you're empowered to create your reality in how you get to choose to feel, how you get to choose to show up in the world as your authentic self. I emphasize the day to day, right? And your power and ability to show up from that space, because we live in a society that for thousands and thousands and thousands of years has promoted conformity and fear-based living, very reactionary based living. And that is the direct opposite of how we are actually wired.
Yes, so true. So I would love to know, for anyone listening who may be in a position right now of perhaps feeling trapped or stuck by their current circumstances, by their job, or maybe even a relationship, and wanting to find that freedom and wanting to take the leap, but feeling like that fear is holding them back. What advice would you give them? Because you've been there. How would you
Yeah.
help support someone in that journey?
Yeah. Well, the first step is just saying yes to change, is to affirm that you're willing to change, even though the path is unclear, especially when the path feels unclear. It's important to affirm that you're willing to change. Nothing can happen in your life without your own free will. And it is actually our own free will, right? That either fuels our dreams and fuels our expansion. And it's also our free will that hinders our own expansion. So if you use your free will to continue to focus on how you're afraid, then that's what's going to continue to happen, right? Or if you make a conscious choice, I'm going to start focusing using my free will on change, on what I'm being called to, on affirming that I'm open to the universe, bringing me what my soul wants to bring forward, even though I might not see it. This is a bit of a different topic, but on this note, right? Like, this is why I love teaching the Akashic Records, because very simply, and I'm sure your audience knows what the Akashic Records are, they are an aspect of you,
Mm-hmm.
of your soul, all of your soul's experiences. And so the empowerment and confidence that accessing your Akashic Records brings for you is nothing short of paradigm shifting, like life changing, to be connected with your soul self at that level. I mean, talk about stepping into your power as a divine creator being. But that would be my number one piece of advice, right? Just start saying yes. Just start saying yes, that you're open to change, even if, and especially when it all feels unclear for you. And I would also say, very simply, focus on being in the present moment. So, and stepping into an observer role in your life. So when you notice that you're feeling fear, or that you're intentionally holding back because of fear, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, explore that. First, acknowledge it, and then ask yourself, well, okay, why am I feeling this way? Where is this fear really coming from? That is how you start to really create traction and momentum in your life toward what you're being guided to. Creating that space to really know yourself is everything.
Oh my gosh, 100%. And so I would love to dive into, on that note, your journey with the Akashic Records and how you use such a profound modality in your practice. What do you see? How does that help you, and how does that help your clients?
Yeah, the Akashic Records tend to call to us. So I found the Akashic Records a few years ago, after I had already been investing significant time in myself and my spiritual growth and my journey. I had studied Reiki for a while, and trained in light body work, and um, it was interesting how the Akashic Records, they found me because I came across this set of tarot cards that were based around the Akashic Records. And I just felt drawn to them, to the intricate detail of the cards. And I just love working with tarot and oracle cards. It's just really fun. It's just a fun way to connect. And even as clear of a channel as I am now, I don't need any tools to connect or get messages, but I just still use tarot and oracle sometimes because it's just fun, right?
Me too.
Yeah. So it was really it was that I started using these cards, and then I came across, this like hypnotherapy session, this guided meditation journey on YouTube on accessing your records. And so I listened to that. And I really only listened to that like once. And then it only took once. And then I just started accessing my own records. And it's important for everybody to know, right? It's like, in this current lifetime, when you encounter something that you feel drawn to, you might think of, oh, I'm learning something new. Well, none of it is actually new. What's happening is that you're in a place on your journey, right, where you're remembering. And so the records have been an aspect of me and who I am, for, I don't know, eons. Like, I don't even know how long. But for
Same.
me, yeah, it happened very quickly. So I basically listened to this one guided meditation journey, and then I just started doing it myself. And then at the time, a mentor that I was working with was offering a mastery program, and I felt guided to join that, to go even deeper in accessing them. And that's really how the records found me. And then I decided, I felt drawn at some point to begin teaching them. I daydream often, actually, about what would our world be like if every person was connected with themselves at that level, right? I mean, that's why I do this work, because, you can think you need to make more money, or, like, we're programmed to believe that there's always something outside of ourselves that we have to do or learn or check off the list in order to get to that elusive destination of complete blissful contentment, and all it is, the answer to all of that is really living from your own inner knowing, because that's your confidence, that's your conviction, that's from love and truth, and that's all you need.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I couldn't agree more. And the Akashic Records, my audience knows they're such a profound tool for helping you unlock that profound inner guidance from within. So I would love for you to share, for anyone listening who feels disconnected from their inner guidance, how can they start tuning into that again?
My number one recommendation is always meditation. It's always creating the space. And it's important to meditate in silence. There are, I don't know, a trillion, however many guided meditations in the world. And I've done lots of them that I share with clients too. I have something I'm going to share with everyone later, right? That's a guided journey as well. But long term on your journey, it's really important to learn how to create space to be in meditation with yourself in silence, being fully present, listening to your breath, right? Breath is also part of that too. And just getting really acutely tuned in to your body, to how your body feels and how your intellect, all of your body systems, right? Emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, energetically, how they are all interconnected, getting really tuned into that, because that's what ascension and growth is really all about, is harmonization and balance. So that would be the number one step, no matter where someone is on their path or their circumstances. Start there.
And I know you mentioned a little bit earlier how when you were in kind of the depths of your own spiritual journey, you were looking for someone who could help you really connect with yourself and connect with your body. So do you see the body as a really profound tool for connecting with that inner guidance?
Absolutely. We are a soul having a human experience. Okay. That's not a cliche. It's a very, very profound truth. Um, we are here to have this human experience and to evolve. So the goal, we talk a lot about purpose and mission. And yes, there is a way that each of us is uniquely here to show up, to share our gifts, to be of service. But make no mistake that your purpose, every one of our purpose, is to be authentically us and to be embodied as a soul in a human body. So learning how to be embodied in your consciousness is everything.
Yes, 100%. How do you recommend that anyone who's feeling disconnected from the body kind of start to feel grounded again?
Yes, that is getting intentional about tuning into your body, right? Your body is an aspect of you. So tuning in to what she needs and not what your mind thinks she needs. This is a very important discernment, because many of us have lived in this default state of, oh, wow, like a burger or a piece of cake or whatever sounds really good. Well, your mind might be saying that that sounds really good. It's about tuning into your body and asking your body, what does she need to feel nourished, right?
Mm-hmm.
Feel expansive. And so having a daily practice in place during your time to meditate and create space
Mm-hmm.
to tune into your body and get familiar with how your body speaks to you, right? Like, so does your body feel really expansive and light, okay, and lit up? And that's how it tells you that it wants something, that something is a full body yes. And when your body is maybe saying, no, that's not what I want, it will likely feel more constricted
Mm-hmm.
and limiting, right? So getting really tuned in with your body's love language, like how it speaks to you.
Yes, that's so beautiful. And it's also really important to be grounded in the body when Jennifer and I do the type of work that we do, which is connect to the galactic realms.
Yes. I'm connecting to all kinds of realms.
All kinds of realms. So true, so true, so true. So I would love to know, who are you connecting with right now? What groups are you working with? And what beings are supporting you on your journey?
Yeah, I mean, how can I pick just one? It it honestly varies day to day. I will say, I'll touch on two things that are coming to mind. One is, so I am in the midst of a tremendous shift on my own path. I have been a clear channel for quite a while now, and I'm actually have started working with a collective consciousness that is channeling to me, consciously channeling to me. These are high frequency light beings that are channeling. They are creation scriptures, essentially, and they're creation scriptures that are focused. They're teachings that are focused around becoming the master of creating your reality in a human body. So I am in the process of channeling these scriptures that are going to take the form of a book. And for those who are following me, I'm going to be, sharing more and more about those teachings, like now and in the future. So that is something that is very big that is happening. The frequencies of these beings are very high, and this is connected to what we were just sharing about with the importance of giving your body what it needs to feel nourished, whether that's food or exercise or just a big hug, whatever else it is, so that you can continue to be of higher service. And otherwise, if I did not do that, I wouldn't be able to hold those frequencies and receive that information, right? So that's another evolution of my own journey that's happening. And today I was sharing with Emily, speaking to the audience, before we hit record, like the Arcturians I work with the Arcturians frequently, but specifically today, ever since I woke up this morning, they were coming through very strongly, talking about how they are here to support us and coming in, being present for us. I would say that the best way to word it is being present for us in a much closer proximity than they have before, to aid us in moving through this transition that we're experiencing for our personal ascension journey, and as a collective, right? We are moving through a lot of change, but we're also moving through a lot of grief, right? And the feeling of loss in of itself is illusory, okay? Mm-hmm. But we are experiencing a lot of this as a collective, and that is, it's not just, a lot of times when we talk about grief, we think immediately about the loss of loved ones, but it's so much beyond even that. It's that which is a big deal for us in our human experience, right? It's also about grieving an old way of living and being, a letting go of a form of what our society was, a letting go of a form of who we were. And so the Arcturians and many other galactic beings and high frequency light beings are closer to us in presence than they ever have been before, to support us in moving forward through that.
Yeah. And I think that's such an important point to make, because I feel like just with some of the clients in the audience that I tend to attract, everyone wants to know their galactic origins and finds their like really specific star family and where they're connected to, which of course there's a time and a place for that. And that is important. But I also want to mention that there are groups like the Arcturians, like the Pleiadians, like the Andromedans, who are in the Sirians. There's so many who are popping up for me right now.
Stepped forward. They're like, hey, the Sirians.
Who are really actively supporting us in this massive transformation time period that we are in, this ascension period that we are in on planet Earth right now. So no matter what your galactic origins are, there are benevolent beings from some of these groups who are here to help us really get to that next level in terms of our collective evolution journey.
Yes. Yes. And it's fun to learn about our origins. And many of us have multiple, stellar origins. I know that I do as well. And it's fun to learn about those. We live in an information age, and we, especially when we're experiencing tremendous shifts in consciousness, we love to learn and absorb information. It's just important to remember to be very conscious about and discerning about the information that you're choosing with your free will to allow into your field. And then also being very conscious and discerning then what you choose to integrate through your body, right? To create your reality from these awarenesses.
And that leads me perfectly into my next question, which is, how do you maintain a clear channel? What does that look like for you? And how do you use your discernment?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. I mean, I revolve my entire existence around living from my soul's guidance.
Yeah.
And by the way, that has been a years long journey, and we are eternal students. Okay. And that's never stops. And that's something I'm just feeling strongly guided to mention in this now moment as a side note, is to be very loving with yourself on your journey, because knowing that you are an evolutionary being, and it's not about, heal my past trauma, check that box off the list, like take out the garbage, check that box off the list. It's like every experience is an experience that we have based upon where our consciousness is at that time. And so there's always going to be another level, another higher frequency experience of healing or remembering or something else, So I just feel really strongly guided to mention that. In terms of what my process is, right? I have practices in place that happen 7 days a week, no matter if I'm traveling or at home or no matter what I'm doing. Your devotion to your path and to your evolution is what it all goes back to. So meditation is one of my core practices. It has been for more than 15 years. It's knowing thyself, it's creating that space every day. So I create that space to be in mindfulness meditation every day. And beyond that, I also intentionally clear my energy every day. And I work with Archangel Michael on a daily basis to bring forward his sword of truth and the highest frequency blue ray light to release resistance from all of my body systems, cells, atoms, electrons, all of my being every day, and also to provide a cloak of protection that aids me each day in repelling any fear-based, negative, or lower frequency energies, entities, or beings. Those are my core practices. Okay. And then it's whatever movement I'm feeling guided to with my body to aid in flowing those energies, right? Because we need to bring it all through. We need to integrate it. So that could be stretching, that could be walking, that could be, lifting weights. It could be yoga. It could be any number of ways, but that changes from day to day. And other practices I feel guided to do change from day to day as well. So I may choose to work with other guides, other, galactic beings or higher frequency beings that are coming in just based upon where I'm at on my path. I will add to that and say, even just this morning, because of where I am on my journey, I am moving through there really isn't words to describe it, but I'm moving through a huge purging as I am approaching my 50th birthday this week, of grief, of releasing old aspects of me and relationships and even parts of what have been my purpose and mission and my business up to this point. And so this morning I chose to spend an additional half hour in meditation, just releasing all of those energies of grief and in how that can show up to aid me in moving forward on my path. The goal is always for you to be in flow and to be free of resistance. Because when we are free of resistance, then we are free to be our sovereign selves, to create. And so any and all practices that you have in place and what you're devoted to for yourself, that is always the goal, right? For you to ultimately live in flow. And so my process probably sounds simple. It is. And I also, I perform a lot of advanced healing technologies and very other, super juicy things that I would love to spend hours talking about. But at the end of the day, what is most profound for us is what is most simple for us.
It's so true. And one thing that you have helped me so much with, for the audience to know, Jennifer and I have a beautiful Akashic Records partnership where we meet monthly and we go into each other's records, and it's such a party all the time. And one thing that Jennifer has helped me with so much is maintaining my own spiritual discipline of, okay, if I'm not feeling like myself, if I'm feeling off, if I'm feeling like things around me, are not in the way that I would like them to be, what do I need to return to? Always back to my practices. If I'm not feeling right, it's likely because my practices are not happening. And so whenever I remind myself of that, I know, okay, I have a little bit of work to do. I need to start showing up for myself again. I need to start going back into my own daily meditation, breath work practices and making time for them. And I always see such a shift when I really keep up with that consistently.
Yeah, it's everything. It really is. It's so important for us to fortify that foundation. And it's so true what you said. Whenever we're feeling off, it always goes back to our devotion.
So for those of you who are not doing your practices right now, because I know some of you are not, I may have even had an individual conversation with you about that. It's time to start incorporating those things again, because trust me, from one healer to another, you'll really start to notice a shift the more you devote your time and energy to yourself.
Yes.
Love it. So I would love to know, Jennifer, what do you have going on in your world right now? What are you working on in your business? How do you help conscious leaders?
Yeah. So I am working with private clients. I'm still offering private mentorships uh, for with a very small handful of people who are very devoted to their path, to going deeper and more advanced on their journey. I still teach the Akashic Records. So I teach the Akashic Records in the form of a virtual retreat because I like to teach not only about accessing your records and how you can navigate those on your ascension journey, right? But also, coming together in circle and in sisterhood and really learning what it's like to be truly connected to others who are on a similar journey. So I'm still teaching the records. And I mentioned earlier in our conversation, I'm in the midst of making a tremendous shift. So I am working on channeling what is going to come forward in the form of a book. I anticipate that those creation scriptures coming out probably later this year. It feels like it's probably going to be around the fall time period. And I'm going to be speaking more and more about becoming a master of creation as a soul, specifically as a soul, having a human experience and manifesting and creating your reality.
I love that. Wow. Can't wait to see where that journey takes you and to be right along there on the ride with you. And I know you have something that you wanted to share with the audience that they can have in order to perhaps start their spiritual practices up again. So what is that?
Yeah, so I have this amazing, it's a free meditative journey called Highest Destiny. It's channeled through the Akashic Records and very strongly in the energies of Hathor, which for those of you who feel guided to learn more about Hathor, you can certainly Google her. But I think if you haven't read the Sophia journey, I think that's a good place to start to learn a little bit more about Hathor. But anyway, the free meditation is really a journey. It takes you on a journey to seeing your highest destiny, to choosing different timelines that are available to you and stepping into your most expansive self.
Cool. I'm going to do that after this. I love that.
I've actually had people that have downloaded that meditation and sent me emails and messages. Like I've had people message me and say, wow, I've listened to this multiple times, and every time I have a different experience, or every time something new comes forward. So yeah, it's a super, super powerful journey.
Sounds magical. And speaking of magic, I would love to know, what does it mean to you to be a mystic?
I love that question. What does it mean to me to be a mystic? There's so much. Living from your own inner knowing, living a soul-led life, discerning truth from illusion, right? Remembering what is real for you, what's real for the world that you live in, living from your creatorship, living from truth and love, living from forgiveness, living from compassion, living fully expressed in your truth as your authentic, bright, shiny self. That's
Love
what it is.
that. Yes. And of course, being your most human too, right along with it.
All in the human experience, all in the
Yes.
human body. Yes.
And what tips would you give the audience for living a more mystical life?
Yeah. Create space. I cannot talk about that too many times. I've brought it up a lot today, but it's really creating space for yourself in meditation. What that looks like for you, being really tuned in to your soul's voice, to how your intuition speaks to you. And then saying yes to that, saying yes to your soul's guidance, having the willingness to take inspired action, and know that, yes, the big leaps are really exciting that I've shared about my journey today. That was all really liberating, and exciting. But at the same time, a lot of that change and evolution happens for us in the consistent actions that we show up to every day, right? So devotion, being devoted to your practices, being devoted to following your soul's guidance, being devoted to living expressed through your human body as your authentic self. That's my answer.
Oh my gosh. And what a profound answer that is. I actually want to bring us back to what we were speaking about at the beginning of the conversation, because this is pinging me. For anyone in the audience who is starting to tap into their grid working gifts, do you have any guidance or advice for them?
Yeah. This goes back to what I just said about the importance of being tuned into yourself. And you teach this about light language because you teach light language. I would say the same thing for grid working. It is unique to each one of us. And so you can implement a daily practice of connecting with the earth, right? And then just like developing a relationship with another person or another soul, you will start to feel guided to be with the earth, to be of service to the planet in different ways. And that may be singing. It may be just being with the land. It may be, being in certain places in the world and moving with the land. You may receive guidance, right? You may see things, like I work a lot with portals and transitioning other beings, and that will all just come to you. So similar to how we speak about following your soul's guidance, just develop that connection with the earth and then pay attention to the signs, to thoughts and ideas that you experience, because they're coming to you for a reason. And it doesn't even have to make logical sense. If you are feeling guided to go visit your favorite tree in a park down the street and sing a song to it, then do that.
Yeah.
That's what it might be.
I love it. I might have to do that after this too. That sounds great to me.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. What a powerful and profound conversation, Jennifer. Thank you for coming on the show. Is there anything else that you feel guided to share, or anything we didn't talk about today that you would like to leave the audience with?
Just that, what's coming forward is that it takes courage. It takes courage to live as your authentic self. And it's important to know that if you're listening to this conversation, you're definitely being called forward to something, because you would not be listening to this conversation otherwise. And that's also my zone of cheese. So I know when someone's listening, they're meant to hear that, right? But just know that it does take courage, and know that you have been living in a society that literally programs you to believe the opposite of the truth of who you really are. So this is your permission slip, right? To follow that, follow whatever it is that you're being called to, and know that even if you feel alone sometimes, that you can listen to our conversation again. You can reach out to either one or both of us to connect with us. Just know that there are so many other sisters out there that are on this path less traveled right now, and know that you are here. You are here to usher in a higher consciousness way of living and being for humanity and the planet, in whatever way that is that you're being called to.
And yes, I love that. It's a perfect place for us to end. You're being called to something if you're listening to this. And likely you already know what that is. It's probably right there in your conscious awareness. And now it's time for you to listen to your intuition to see what those next steps are to help you tap into your divine creatorship.
Yes, divine creatorship. That's a term I like to use as well. Absolutely.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll leave Jennifer's information below in the show notes, and a link to her powerful guided meditation experience so that you can enjoy that in your life. So thank you, Jennifer, for being here, and so excited to see where this journey takes the audience.
Thank you. It was my absolute pleasure. So happy to be here. Thanks for having me.